Hi, my name is Chris Neely here at Rapid7, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can implement a custom use case within Surface Command to help you gain greater visibility. Out of the box, Surface Command provides a controls overview dashboard that shows you assets that don't have endpoint protection. So those would be assets with a coverage gap of endpoint protection, or a coverage gap in vulnerability scanning, or a coverage gap of identities and admins that don't have MFA. Well, what if you wanted to pick a specific piece of technology to do this? Well, let's do that now. So I go to the assets page. Maybe I'm looking for a use case where I'm looking for a coverage gap in the Insight agent. This is very common for Rapid7 customers who are using the Insight agent for vulnerability scanning or detection and response, and they want to see where there isn't any coverage of the Insight agent. So first thing we can do is under sources, we can look for a coverage gap and look for where the Insight agent isn't running. So I'm actually using the Insight agent for both detection and response and vulnerability management. So I'm going to look for a coverage gap in both. And that's great. Now it's given me a list of 17,000 assets. However, that will also include lots of different assets, mobile devices, switches, routers, networks that I know can't support the Insight agent. So let's further apply some filters. For operating systems, I know that the Insight agent only supports Linux, Mac, and Windows. So let's modify those now. And I only really care about servers and workstations. So let's also add servers and workstations here as well. So servers and workstations. And then this has given us a list of 17,000 assets that I know are eligible for the Insight agent. However, this could also include stale data. Often data sources have duplicate records. Maybe some of these systems no longer exist. Maybe they haven't been on the network for a while. So let's filter this list by assets that have been seen in a period of time. So I'm going to do assets that have been seen in the last 30 days that I know are operational on my network. Now I'm filtering this list on anything that doesn't have the Insight agent, that has eligible operating systems on workstations or servers that have been seen in the last 30 days. And you can see now my list is down to 15,000. Now we can create a saved query of this and build some widgets. So I will copy this onto my workspace. And here you can see a custom query, everything I've just defined in the query, together with the advanced logic, because an operating system can only be Linux or Windows or Mac OS, or it can be a server or a workstation. So let's run this query. The results will be exactly the same as they were before. But now we can save this as a saved query and build widgets from it. So I'm going to call this Insights Agent or Insight Agent Coverage Gap. And I also want to build some widgets from it. So I'm going to select that. Now that's saved the query for us and has taken us to the widgets page, and we can now create some content based on that query. So the first thing I want to create is just a simple number widget that tells me the total number of assets that are eligible for that Insight agent. I'm going to call it Insight Coverage Gap. We don't need to do anything else. That all looks good, so I'm going to save that. Next, I want to really understand the types of systems and operating systems that potentially could have the agent. So I'm going to create another widget. This time I'm going to use a pie chart, give it another name. And we'll do this by operating system, and then we'll select OS, because I want to understand which operating systems have the largest gap. And I'm going to format this. I'm going to give it a legend so I know what sections mean. And I'm going to give it a different color. Now I can see that Windows is by far the largest assets that have a coverage gap. So I'm going to save that. And then lastly, I'd like to really track this over time and understand whether my teams are actually installing the agent in these different areas. And I want to track that over time. So I'm going to create a trend line. Give it a name once again. Call it trend, and then I'm going to give it a dimension, and I'm going to base this on my operating systems. Or maybe we should do it on class, actually. Let's do it on class. Let's give it a legend once again. Give it a different color. And now I'm going to track the coverage gap based on workstations and servers. Maybe I care more about servers having the insight agent or workstations, and I can track the progress of these as we go forwards. So that all looks good. I'm going to save that once again. And now I have all the widgets associated with that query I've built. Let's build a custom dashboard. So I can go over to dashboards. I'll create a new dashboard and we'll call this one coverage gaps. And I can add some custom widgets. So they were all called insight agent coverage. So there's my number chart. There's the pie chart and there's the time trending chart I built. And now I have a new dashboard that looks for coverage gaps associated with the insight agent and enabling me to track that over time. With that, thank you very much.